Meeting to order. It is 7:07 by my clock. All right. I would like to dispense with the minutes. May I have a motion on the minutes of February 13th?
I have a motion to accept the minutes of February 13th.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, and
I'll move the minutes, that we approve the minutes of February 20th, 2019.
all right, we have a second.
A second.
All right, Kathy, and any discussion? All those in favor? And thank you. So those were both unanimous. Rebecca, if you didn't get that. All right. Unfortunately, Dan had to go to Boston today, so we do not have the advantage of his input. Do we?
So we'll have to make it up? We just,
Yeah. Do we want to tackle the capital budget first?
okay. Do we have it in our,
We have it, it's at the end of your book, your black, your black notebook. It's the last tab.
The official one, right?
Yeah. As far as I know, there's no recent update. So there's all sorts of, the first page is basically the budget, and then there's all the backup information behind it.
Last.
The pickup truck for the shopper's cart.
Yeah, Bob, do you wanna
Okay.
speak to, I mean, this is all part of, I mean, this is all stuff that Dan has put on the capital budget that are not part of the budget override articles. So I'm not inclined to pick it apart too badly.
So this isn't gonna go on the warrant or anything.
This is the capital budget, this is the capital improvement budget that should be going on the warrant. Ira, you have the full warrant. You wanna just take a look at the number on the capital improvement budget article? It should
Well,
be,
I had suggested to her
should be
to
Article 3.
utilize the four-wheel,
Right. To utilize.
ATV.
The ATV.
for whatever this pickup truck would probably be used
I don't
for.
think we
Right.
have a number.
Yeah.
Yeah, Article 3 does not have a number attached
Okay, it
to
does
it.
not. Well, if Article 3 doesn't have the number, and we're not sure, if Dan isn't here, that this is the full number.
There's in the back,
He gave us
page
updated
34
stuff.
is kind of a repeat of, well, it's very similar to this.
This is the whole budget, 19399.
Hang on, Dan gave us some updated
Capital.
numbers
I know.
last week.
Yeah.
But this is the general budget. Well, if we don't have an actual number,
Can reserve right.
Can we reserve?
I mean, right now,
Yeah, okay, I'm
it
gonna
looks
move,
like,
let's not fool around. Let's just
It looks
move.
like-
I'm gonna move that we reserve our recommendation until town meeting.
right, because we're not sure we have the real number.
Good.
Um,
We may meet
Or-
before then.
we may, yeah, we'll meet before then, but we will hold off on this. Do we need to, somebody want to second
Second.
the motion?
Second.
Is there any further discussions, anybody?
Just one thing, and I feel like I should know the answer to this, but on page 35, and this number, I sent a message out to Aaron Orcutt at Tech High School. Last year, we plugged in $106,000 as our annual debt service for the Tech High School. And I found an email because I'd seen this $160,000 number floating around, like, for example, on page 35.
I don't have the full warrant, I mean,
And
I have most of the articles, but I
Okay.
don't have,
well, anyway, it says 160,000.
Yeah,
Same numbers,
yes.
two numbers
For
interspersed.
Thank you.
And I sent an email, I have not heard back from her, but when I looked at the email from last year, that posed the question of what's our annual, it was 106. So I'd like to just confirm that 160 is correct, because it's a big difference if, for one thing, it's a number that we're plugging into our strategic report. We plugged in 106 last year, and that was based on their information that they had sent to us. So somewhere along the line, there was a typo, it looks like. It's either this is it, or she sent me 106,
Well,
it was
someone's
really
dyslexic.
160.
Or somebody selected, right? Or is there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's in the general
Yeah, that's-
budget, right?
But that's good that you bring that up because.
well, it's under debt
Find
service,
that out.
debt service we're gonna pay every year for the next
Right,
Humpty Dumpty years, and that's gonna add up to real money if it's $60,000 difference a year, so I'd
correct.
just like to get the number right, that's
All
all.
right,
Yeah,
if you would,
And
you'll follow up on that.
I will follow up and contact them again, by phone this time.
So, but that debt service is not on the, is that on the capital budget?
No,
Right, that's what I thought, so.
No, but,
but
yeah,
it's,
it's,
We have a,
kind
we
of
have
on
a
the
motion on the table, we have a motion to,
Table.
reserve,
Waive
yeah,
off.
to reserve,
for Tony.
Reserve our recommendation.
thank you,
until-
reserve our recommendation to town meeting on the capital budget, and so, have somebody seconded that?
Yes, that's the
Steven second.
Stevens seconded it.
Okay, and any other discussion, all those in favor?
well, I just want to say one other thing, I'm sorry, that a lot of the things that we already, a lot of the budgets we've already basically approved have some of the biggest capital items in this year's budget,
right.
like DPW and fire. We've already basically said, yes, great.
That was all operating budget, this is a separate budget.
Well, when the department heads came in and said,
Right,
so I'm just noting the fact that,
yeah,
Those individual
I don't
items.
think that, it's not the overall capital budget I have an issue with, it's the fact that we're not sure that this
What
is the
the
final
number is.
number.
okay,
Yeah.
sorry,
That's the concern.
that's fair, sorry.
See, in the warrant, they have to vote for the machines, and then it's
Right.
reflected
Yeah, 'cause
in
the
the
most-
capital budget
there's-
when money's actually spent for the items.
Right.
Right,
And we did decide on the large ticket ones because, from my recollection is that it all made sense.
it did, and a lot of it is deferred spending from previous
From
years, and it's
previous
coming
years,
back to
exactly.
haunt us, so, because we don't have Dan's input tonight, I did ask if he could put together a quick memo, and he was not able to get to that. So, that would have helped us tonight, but.
No, that's fine, I just was
Okay.
noting that the 800-pound gorillas on the capital budget were already in budgets that we basically said sounds okay, so.
Right, so, but most of those are gonna come up in the articles, or
Right.
have already,
Correct.
so as individual overrides.
Yep.
All right, so all those in favor,
I have a question that might be pertinent to, I wasn't here for a couple of meetings, and I see some front-end loader, sweeper. Was it ever addressed that a leasing program versus a buying program asked of the DPW director?
To the best of my knowledge, no.
Oh, where's Linda?
Linda has
She's the
flu, she is
liaison
out sick,
to-
and,
Do you want me to
so
ask
Linda
Mark
and Jeff
Vincent?
Tash, Rebecca, are both excused, they both emailed me.
Did we not talk about leasing? Wasn't leasing was a finite?
I don't think it. I don't think so.
I
He's
thought-
got a good point though.
I don't know that
mean,
most
the-
of these things are available for leasing, I mean, not the big equipment.
Maybe not.
A street sweeper,
I don't think anybody,
it's not like they make a lot of them.
yeah, but I'm
I'd be happy to.
sure-
Why are we guessing? Why don't we just?
Yes, what?
Yeah.
He did talk
There
about
you
it.
go.
Oh, we
He
did?
did explain to you that he couldn't do a leasing because it was such a machinery that they wouldn't do leasing. And I remember because I.
Yeah, I
was
do
in
remember
that.
something that
Okay.
we
Okay.
couldn't do the leasing.
I don't know
For
where I
some reason
was.
or another.
Like, well,
Um,
probably because it gets beat on so hard.
Well, and also,
Right.
if you're leasing something, then you're giving it a, 5 years, 10 years lease, and then you're returning it. So you're right, there isn't a lot of add value at the end of the life, and you're basically
Well,
gonna go
the-
cost that again instead of,
Marina's doing it with a pickup truck, 10 grand a year.
Yeah, but a
And then
pickup
they
truck
said you
is,
can have it at the end of the 4 years.
a
yeah.
pickup truck is different from a street
I know,
sweeper.
I know.
Because, yeah.
That's the only reason why I thought of it. that
Right.
It's possible, so.
Okay, so the answer
well,
is no, we can't
That's
lease
Okay,
equipment like
All right.
that. So, all right, so all those in favor of reserving recommendation on the capital budget? Any opposed? No, good. Excellent, so we're gonna have to reserve that. All right. So there were a number of articles. We got through Article 25, 26, 25, I think.
I can tell you.
25 is the Marine Enterprise Fund, 25 was the Transfer Stabilization Fund. I'm reading right off of the warrant right now.
I think we split it.
25 is, the transfer. I'm pretty sure on the second page of the minutes from the last meeting.
Oh, look, we recommended the capital improvement plan.
I'm sorry?
We recommended the capital improvement plan. Article 20.
When did we do that? I
Do
don't
we have a
recall
number?
doing that.
Number 20, capital improvement.
Well, 13, 14, 15, 16, a lot of the big ones, we said
Okay,
yes.
keep in mind this is a draft.
No, I've
It's
got,
happening
no,
now.
that's
I read it when I was
my draft
on
was
my
dated
computer, but I didn't print it
10/22.
out.
Okay.
Capital
Yours is
improvement.
I'm in 2/22. So is yours.
So is mine.
That's
Which one are
weird.
you looking
I
at?
Because
remember
mine does not
22.
have a recommendation on it.
Recommends 8
8 to 0.
Oh, I'm sorry, right, it doesn't.
On Article 20 for the, that's the sum of, that's a typo. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $40,000.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay, that's not the capital improvement.
Right, I
That's
think-
the-
yeah, I
That's
think-
the truck for
That was
the,
a test.
I think that some of this might be just held over from the last,
yeah, a plug-in, yeah.
so
So
I'm
20 was-
because I know, I do not remember voting the capital improvement plan.
Not the whole one, we voted on individual.
Individual.
Yeah, we
Capital
voted on
items.
individual articles.
That's all I was saying before, is
Yeah.
like, much of the total cost of the plan
Right,
is the stuff we voted on last meeting,
so,
over
Article
$1.5 million. looks like.
27, we do need to weigh in on.
21.
hang on one
Sorry.
sec.
We're starting
21
with
is the fuel
27.
tank.
Yeah, on 27.
That,
22 is.
what the hell did I do with my meeting minutes?
I think 26 is the next one we have to do.
24.
It's the last one.
25.
It's the local access TV.
Sorry, I just need to.
Yep,
There we
that's where
go,
I am.
okay,
Right,
that's what I needed to find.
okay, so we're on 26?
It's the transfer to
I
LCCATV.
believe so,
I
yes.
think we stopped there. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Okay,
I
wait, just give me 1 sec, please,
Yes.
before y'all run right over me here, because I am a little disappointed.
And a front-end loader.
Yeah, thanks. I'm getting a little
It is
ahead of myself or behind myself.
Tom, what's the difference
Okay, come
between
on.
99? What's the difference between 99 and 20? Stations 99 and 22?
Lowercase access
No,
television
most of us
is both
didn't have
22 and
that.
99. 22 is
Just
educational
to save paper,
and 99 is the
Sorry.
public access. So
You could come
schools
over and
run
share, Helen.
22,
No, I can't
Oh.
be at the table.
I just
but
had her.
it's kind of managed onto the air
That's
by
like the relevant ones.
It's
I happen to have it more
LCCTV.
for your-
Okay, so
No,
we
no,
did
no,
not
that's okay, I
recommend
just
the
wondered.
capital budget.
All
So you
right,
gotta watch 22 in order to figure out that you have to watch.
So-
29.
could I get everybody's attention again, please? I'm
And
sorry.
I just want, when, again, I know I should know this, I ask it every year, what's that deadline, the absolute deadline,
I was told March 8th,
March 8th, thank you.
so we could in fact get one more meeting in.
Well, March 4th, we're gonna be meeting with
Yeah, we have that, but if we absolutely had to, we could meet on the 6th.
I don't think we need to, right?
Well, let's see how things go tonight. Because we are still able to vote on things and report back and get them on, get that in for town meeting. That's not really a problem.
Okay.
All right, so, we got through Article 24.
What about 25?
We're, 27 is the next one, is the
No,
one.
26.
26 is the next
26, I
one.
think we held,
Contracts.
oh, all right, 25, you're right. 26, we don't have a number for, do we?
Yeah, it says $114,000.
There are some
The last
prior to
one
that,
got
but we
is
have not.
25.
Yeah, 26.
Yeah, where's 26? It goes.
26 is
up top.
Oh,
on
it's
page
114, yeah, you're right, it's,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna move Article 26.
Second,
Any discussion? All those in favor of recommending Article 26? Nobody opposed? All right. 27 is the community preservation housekeeping article.
I'm gonna move 27.
Second.
That's what we heard last week.
Mhm.
This is the standard,
It's funds.
Standard demand.
Moving the stuff around.
yeah.
It looks like, how many are CPC?
The,
Why do we-
but then we have the individual CPC
Or-
Because those
articles.
have to be voted on.
It says
Right.
it's a housekeeping article.
Yeah. So Article 27,
And this is money that's available for these purposes. It's not gonna affect
right.
tax rate.
Mhm.
It's just a, yeah, it's just a
It's nice to give you
reallocation.
cash, and we need to divvy it up.
So, do we have a motion and a second?
Already have.
Any
Second.
further discussion? Yeah, all those in favor? And none opposed, right? Correct, okay, good. So the community preservation articles. 28, that is the 59,000,
That's the 75,000 for a
And
consultant.
15, and estimated annual revenues for total sum of
oh, 75,
75,000.
you're right.
That's
Right,
for
this
the-
was the consultant.
75,000 for the consultant.
Gary talked about.
I'll move Article 28.
Second.
Any further discussion on 28? All those in favor? Opposed?
I am not,
No.
I don't know, I,
Would you like to abstain?
no, I just,
Say no.
no, I'm not gonna say no, I just think that
Be
we didn't
prepared to
explore
ask-
the other options
be asked
besides
to-
hiring. Oh, this is,
It's
but
the
this wasn't a hire,
consultant.
this was a consultant.
Which
Okay,
is
go ahead, I'm
long
good.
run
That's
And
right, I remember it's
if
coming
you
back
look
to
at
me.
the
Yep,
minutes,
go ahead.
You're going, you're
I'm
going
good.
in
I'm-
favor
I
of
went,
this?
yes, I'm going,
All right.
I will
There's a
approve.
very brief summary of all of
I-
these in the minutes from the 20th.
Yep, I will
Yeah.
approve, I had to get that in my brain that it wasn't another position, that it was a consultant.
Well, expect it in 2 years,
Well,
which should be in the strategic plan.
Yeah,
So you're voting
the
for
it?
the minutes from the
I'm
20th
voting
does
for it.
have
I'm
the
voting
chair,
for it.
have the
I'm
summary
sorry
on the
for it.
CPC
Okay,
article.
so
What was the last
we
thing you
already,
said, Stephen?
so we're 6-0.
Okay.
We're on to
That,
29.
The
Yep.
consultant position for
Got it.
the housing authority eventually, maybe 2 to 3 years, will probably become a full-time position for the town.
Uh-huh.
Just something to put there, like, it's,
yeah, that's,
not that that's gonna be a reality, but with the whole part of our strategic plan is to warn. Not that that would be a bad thing, but,
Right.
you know.
Oh, we-
Are you thinking that that
Okay.
would be a town planner type position? Or something
Um,
in addition to?
I think it's pretty much defined by
think-
the housing authority.
I think it may be a housing specialist.
You know,
I
I
think that's
think,
gonna be
I
separate.
just thinking with
And-
square footage and opportunities available, that if that comes to that, we should be looking at other ways to share that or regionalize that.
right, and
So-
long-term, it's
And
gonna
long-term,
probably fall
so-
under
For the
human
short term,
services.
For
this
the short
takes
term,
care
I'm
of
okay
it.
with this for this year, for the consulting fee to find out what we
Right.
need, but in the long term, I'm not, I don't think that there's enough
Right.
to
Yeah.
square footage to plan for to hire a full-time person on it. That's just, you know, that's
I'm
my
just
down the
saying,
road.
2
That's gonna
years,
be a
it's
really
gonna be
important
like-
consideration, but let's
Cart
see,
before the
let's
horse,
see
so go
what the
ahead.
next year or two
Yep.
bring. All right, so the next one is should be the 100,000, number 29 should be the 100,000 for the Affordable Housing Trust.
I'll move Article 29.
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? I'm glad we had these people in earlier and we were able to go through this
Yeah.
quickly. Article 30, community preservation.
That's the
That-
7,500 at,
Right, that's for the Housing
The
Institute.
Housing
Cape Housing
Institute.
Which, again, I recommend
I'll move
everybody.
for Article 30.
a second.
Okay, a motion and a second.
Ah,
All those in
cool.
favor? All in favor,
Oh.
everybody? Yay.
Zip, zip, zip.
31
This is 31, all right, there's 31.
is the rec department shade structure.
I'll move Article 31.
As long as we call it a pagoda.
Yeah, pagoda.
Sure.
That's so like, yeah.
The semi-permanent replacement for the
On sonar
Bakersfield
tubes?
tent.
No, just call it pagoda.
Pagoda.
The town has a pagoda, and I hope we make an announcement on the town website.
Yes,
Because you could imagine getting married if you're that,
exactly.
inclined.
It's so
or
much better than a shed.
commitment to- Yeah, exactly.
Married in a shed.
Yeah,
All right.
We're having our
do we
event
have
at
a
the
motion
pagoda.
on
Exactly.
I move.
Article 31.
31.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? All right, let's hope this solves that problem. 32, that's the historical.
This is the inventory.
Commission. This is, yeah, this is basically an intern to,
The digital update, right?
yeah, intern to try to get rid of the rest of this work. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Is there
32.
a second
I'll
on
second it.
recommending 32? And any further discussion? All those
Just
in
an
favor? Okay.
observation. Would this intern be able to share with the rest of the town how the homeowner could access these files?
I believe it's all available online.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor of recommending Article 32? All right, thank you. All right, Article 33.
I like the idea of this, but did we ever talk about it?
We have not. I know the select board had a discussion on it, and this basically
3
would
years
add
ago.
the 3-year-olds.
I'm for that.
Yeah, we wrestled with this 3 years ago. When it first came out.
This is an override, so the town is gonna have to make a decision as to whether they wanna spend this money. Spending money on early childhood education seems to have a good ROI.
I'm gonna move it.
Can I ask a question before we,
Of course you may.
just so I understand, it says 100,000 or any other sum, but then down below it says not to exceed 7,000 per child. So any other sum would be if so if we had 20, let's say, for argument, 3-year-olds, it could be 140,000. Or it could be, or more than 100,000 in a given year. Any other sum is at the discretion of who?
I think any other sum might be boilerplate language in this
I think
case.
I would like to know what the balance is left
of,
of this fund, because we've been voting on it each year, and it'd be nice to see if it's all being used.
do you have any insight into that, Helen?
No, and Stephen just asked the question I was asking myself. We already have the 4-year-olds, right?
Right.
So the question would be about the 4-year-olds, because that's actually happened. But Suzanne is not going to answer my text at this hour.
Nor should she.
Really.
So
All
that being
right.
said, I'd kind of maybe like to
You want to table this one?
table this for town meeting, because that could have, I'm not saying
Sure. No
decrease it,
problem.
but if we
I'll
see-
take away my.
if they have
Rescind
some
your,
money left, we
motion.
can say reduce it.
I just have a question of what the criteria is for
I
qualifying and
agree,
not
I don't
having.
think we've talked about this one, yeah.
Yeah, you have to be 4 years old.
And a
But is
resident.
it Wellfleet
Oh,
only, or
It
is
is resident, it
is-
is a Wellfleet residence
So I would
only.
distinguish between.
So you have to make
one
over $1 million to disqualify
It's not,
yourself?
it's
or-
not income, it's anybody
Right.
who asks for it.
There is
And
no income
qualifies,
requirement.
that's it, exactly.
It's universal for school.
I
But is it
know.
Wellfleet
I had
resident?
2
Is-
kids in
I know.
preschool and I had $6,000, which is 30% of my income. No one asked me.
This
I'm
is
just
something,
saying.
this was something that Jerry pushed for years before we
I
finally
am
voted.
totally
Okay,
wise money spent, but I
Right.
just wondered if there are any criteria for qualifying.
no.
Nope,
Janet, Madam Chair, Bob,
Mhm.
one of the things that came up about that was for younger people, even if they are making a good living, the housing here is so different than when your kids were, it's so much more expensive. So it's a way of helping people who want to struggle and stay in this community. And as we know, people that have grants have to live here.
All right, so we're gonna table, we're gonna postpone our Article 33 pending being able to ask some
Clarification.
additional questions.
I think we need a vote for that, so I will move that we.
don't you have to
Withhold.
rescind yours first?
Yes,
I
he
did.
did.
Oh,
He
you
already
did.
did.
So I
He withdrew
rescind. So I'm going
his
to ask that we
motion.
withhold the recommendation till.
Second,
Okay, so a motion and a second to withhold recommendation on Article 3. All those in favor? Okay, so we need to ask Dan about, Steve, would you just jot down your
Yeah, I have
question?
a
So
bunch of a couple of things. I wanted to ask about revenue from the proposed Airbnb tax. Do you have any projections on what that might be?
I don't think we do yet.
Worth asking. Borrowing rate for any of the articles? And the balance in the preschool
So we're
fund.
double A plus, right? Is that?
But
Our bond rating?
I think we're still triple A. It's the school that's double A plus,
Okay.
which is still a good rating.
Yeah, but it's just.
We're triple
Okay.
A. which is
Okay.
better.
So we're gonna hold on 33.
Okay, so this one says that $25,000, we're talking about 34, $25,000 of the shellfish revenues are dedicated to the shellfish department for cultivation, protection, etc. I think Nancy.
Right, and I believe that this is going to be revenue neutral, because it's money that they're gonna,
They're earning and keeping.
right.
You hear anything about this back grant?
Well, it's not revenue. It's not sort of revenue.
Well, it's
Well, they
not
get to
coming,
keep
it's
their
not,
own-
it's
They get to
actually
keep
not
their
an
own- I mean, it's
override.
fine.
This is actually creating a revolving fund for the shellfish department.
Right.
This is gonna be an annual request.
No, I don't think they're requesting money from the town. I think they are creating the fund, and they're gonna
Right,
put
but-
money, put their own money into it
From where?
from
From-
revenues to the
Revenues
shellfish.
from license.
Right, that's town money. It's not.
Well, instead of going to the general fund, it goes into the.
Any revenue
Right.
generated by any department in town is town revenue. It's earmarked for
Yeah,
Good
this.
point,
earmarked,
yes.
so-
And this
Yeah.
is
So
establishing
they're
a
requesting to
shellfish-
earmark some of their own
Right.
income.
But I don't think
Or
that
some
this
of the-
wasn't, the way that I understood that this was a one-time.
It's a kind of a wash, because they're gonna be taking in enough to cover this.
Right,
No, but this is permanent.
It's revolving.
Right.
right.
Each year, they're gonna come in and you do the same thing, right?
Unless they raise the
No,
amount.
this is
No, I don't think,
establishing this is like the enterprise fund for Marina. They're not gonna come in every year and ask for a Marina enterprise fund. This is,
You're gonna
once
lose
it's
it.
established,
They're gonna
they'll,
lose the
I think they can
It's one
take
and
care
done.
of it without
Mhm.
requiring further votes at town meeting.
Well, it means, it does say that the amount has to be voted on every year.
Which is good.
All right.
Yeah, I'm
Because
just
if they
saying.
have some extra in there, then you can say, yeah,
Have a party.
All right, and Bob, I hate to remind you this, but I know, you remember you have to recuse on
oh, okay,
shellfish
sure.
articles.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
I know,
how would you?
Do we still have a
vote if
quorum?
you- How would you vote?
we
that's
have
good.
we have 6 people here, so
Oh,
yes,
what-
we do.
All right.
But I think he can still count as being here, even if he's recusing. He can still count towards quorum, even if he can't
It's an
vote on
interesting
the article.
theoretical.
Well, you can still give
We
input.
have-
If we all had to recuse ourselves, could we
We do,
still?
it's not an issue, so,
It's a non-issue, so did somebody move it?
not
I'll move
yet.
it.
Okay, did somebody second it?
I'll second it.
All
There
right.
we go, we're moving right along here.
So, we have a motion and a second to vote to recommend Article 34. All those in favor? So we have 5 and 1 abstention.
This is this guy.
I'm sorry.
Actually,
Okay,
I'm
Article 35, I would like a motion to reserve
Thank
recommendation.
you. I second that.
Okay,
I agree.
And just so that you know, the charter bylaw that we voted on are not yet official, so the personnel board still has
Has
to weigh
not.
in on this.
Right,
We haven't met yet.
and yeah, I'd like to do a little more gathering of information on this.
And this is why I just wanted to find out about the potential projecting revenue on that Airbnb tax, because a portion of it is supposed to be earmarked for
Wastewater,
wastewater management.
yeah,
and
which
so-
has to come back to us, it's just a
Yeah.
slower
So
process.
yeah, it would be nice to, when is that? That's this year, isn't it?
It's this year, but-
But
Right.
you're not gonna see them,
We won't know until
Until
whenever
when?
it is that the
Yeah.
state sees fit to return that revenue to us. So we have a motion and a second to reserve recommendation on 35.
Just a question before we vote. We are reserving in order to gather what information?
I actually would like to have a chat with the health agent, who I know has had some long discussions about this, and I may ask her to, I'm gonna have a short chat with her and see if it makes sense to have her come in and speak to us directly.
Also, the DPW director would be good, so.
Yeah.
This is the job
this is the one that we
description
had
that
the
they
redundancy.
tried to fly last year.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah,
that.
But
And
it's
the same
no,
one. There's
I
no-
believe
it's not
it's,
bad,
I
but it's
believe
not-
it's
I looked
similar.
at it the other day, because,
But
It's
last year there was
okay.
the question of who is reporting to who with the water
Right,
commissioner when you have a health agent and a DPW that are
Right.
is there a redundancy of duties that should be?
and I think that's still a question, so.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, Helen, you have something to add?
Yeah, quickly, there have been, it's a moving target, this whole thing.
Right.
And on February 7th, Cape Cod Commission, DEP, Hillary, 2 members from the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Committee met at the Cape Cod Commission. And not only do we need to wait and see what kind of money we're gonna get from the B&B that can be used towards this, but this plan is not going to be simply finalized by the consultant that the wastewater committee got. There are going to be more steps. And one thing that did come out, and do get Hillary to come and talk to you all, okay? Because I've talked with her a lot and relieved my ignorance. And Andrew Gottlieb, who was on the radio about the 208 plan the other day, who knows everything about it. He was at that meeting too. And Hillary and the DEP unanimously, absolutely agree that this should not be a position that covers what the water commissioners need and what we might need for the 208 plan. And that was something that Janet and I actually talked about this a bit, but that's another thing to wait for. So what I'm hoping is this was just pacing from last year.
Right.
Like Dan just did a draft of the warrant. He
So
didn't
this is
change-
still premature.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as I said, I would like to see what some people have had much more lengthy discussions that we haven't already heard. Like, we've heard from water commissioners and the wastewater committee 2 years in a row about this, but we haven't, we did not do our due diligence about,
Jumping to the front,
Yeah.
yeah,
Again,
so
it didn't.
I left,
I did
I've
go
been a
to
little
one of
crunched
their,
for time, but I left a message for Hillary today to call me tomorrow, to call me, and hopefully she and I can.
Helen and I actually went to one of the
Discuss.
wastewater management committee meetings a while ago.
Mhm,
And the health department was there too.
mhm.
So there was a lot of talk about this particular position.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of reserving recommendation on Article 35? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Article 36.
can I say one other thing about that, even though we've already voted to reserve, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have. This feels like one of those things that we could end up punting, the town, or we, or whoever, could punt down the road indefinitely. Because it has a conceptual content to it, which is, do we need somebody or some governing body, a person or a committee or whatever, to manage water stuff? And everybody's kind of saying, well, yeah, that doesn't sound like a terrible thing because we have all these water issues. But then there's the actual governance stuff. How would it work? Who reports to who? How do we restructure? Which gets to where it gets real knotty and seems almost unresolvable.
Not our problem.
I'm just saying
As
that
a-
we
as a
could have
finance
this
committee,
conversation every year
we
for the
might.
next 5 years.
We might.
And notice that now last year there wasn't this potential for an alternative revenue source for a piece of this. I mean, we definitely have to address the DEP's concerns about water quality.
But again, is this gonna be something that could be regionalized?
This is so
based on
vague that
knowledge?
it's one of those, the thing that I'm cautious about is vague positions like this.
Yeah, tend to
And
morph into.
5 years down the road, they morph into something completely different, and before you know it, you've got
Somebody,
stuff.
no, I agree. I think.
Yeah.
All right, so
There's so many question marks around what this actually
we've
is.
got time between now and town
Okay.
meeting to try to get a little better grasp on this, and we may still not be, we may still have questions about it, but at least we can do a little bit more due diligence.
May I
But
say
it
one
can wait, I
Madam
think.
Chair, I want to say one more thing. So I talked with Andrew Gottlieb about this at length, and he said something really interesting.
Who
This
is
at-
he? Is he?
Who is he? Well, first of all, he knows more about the 208 plan than most people. He's one of those people
Okay.
that the CONSCOM gets to come in and teach them about it. But yes, but he said this great thing, looking at it, he's very neutral. He said, figure out, and this is not going to happen before town meeting, what it is our 208 plan has to do. Get the plan accepted by the DEP, which is the wastewater committee's job. And then form follows function. Figure out how it's going to be addressed, right? Meanwhile, the water commissioners have somebody we're already paying a lot of money to take care of their extra needs, and they can get people to come in and help them. Just the same way CONSCOM, for example, got Andrew Gottlieb to come in and educate them about what they needed to know about something. This happens all over the town, it happens efficiently. So form should follow function here. I'm just really interested in not having a full-time or even a part-time employee that we don't really need. We have to figure out what it is we need someone
We
for.
don't really know what that person's gonna do.
All right,
Shellfish
Article
Shack,
36.
No, is this the one
Shellfish.
that's down there by the basketball courts?
right,
I thought they were gonna
This is
tear
the
it down.
old-
I thought so too.
I don't think $42,000 can do much.
I don't think this building is
Cost me $42,000
salvageable.
That's
to
what they
build
were saying
for.
last year, they were saying the building, and also wasn't there some talk about if the town did acquire 3 Kendrick Avenue, that would be the site of the new Shellfish Shack potentially as one possible use case?
When did anybody talk to us about this?
I vaguely remember.
I
popping
think
up
I remember
somewhere
the
on-
point, the part that there was there asbestos in it, and this was just to remediate it and make it not a liability, if I recall correctly.
There's a lot of money to spend on a building we're almost certainly gonna have to tear
Tear
down.
That's what everybody's recommended in the past. There was one year when Barbara Cheveria voted, we're gonna take that shack back because L.D. Baker donated it to the town, and then after the
Right.
town voted for it,
Another
they had
donation.
experts come in and say, tear it down. It's not gonna, first of all, to put any septic in it or whatever, you're gonna have to have,
This building,
Variances
this building
and-
seems like a big money pit, and
The renovations, well.
I-
Is renovation the
I
right
would
word?
rec,
thought
I
this
would,
was,
I would make a motion that we, vote to not recommend.
Second.
Is this I just want to make sure before we not recommend it, that this is not the money that was to
Well, it does
mitigate
say
the
that,
liability.
No,
No, it's not?
You know
Okay.
something?
no, yeah, I
Okay.
know something.
tell us what
Madam
you know about this.
Yeah, I'm looking at you and really trying to be brief, because
Thank
it's important to maintain your respect for me marginally. Okay.
Assuming
here's the-
that we're starting.
Here's the thing, a while back, after, the Building Needs Committee fully educated us about how we should get rid of it and why, and the laws governing why we should. This configuration, the select board thought, oh, no, I'm like really against keeping it. So then we had Justin Post and Mark Vinson come in and describe, and Nancy Chavetta, and the Shellfish Department now could use it for like storage and, in the winter to go through racks, and they've sort of used it, They're not using it actually for that. I went in there a month and a half ago, never mind why, with the Shellfish Department, and nothing was going on. There was nothing stored there. There was no kind of fixing various.
It's empty.
It's empty and it's horrible. And what Justin Post and the DPW director were supposed to do was to give the select board an estimate of how much it would cost.
Dispose of the building.
No, to wipe off, to treat the mold.
It's the mold, yeah.
No, and to stabilize, put the
Shore up the building.
siding, roof, and fix the windows, and how much would that be? And there was a ballpark thrown out of $40-something thousand. But I said, no, we need to have this on paper as a real estimate with a breakdown. And we haven't gotten that yet.
Well, you also would be, I'd also like to look at what's the cost of demolition.
Almost nothing.
I bet you can get an angry mob out there to take their frustrations out for
Yeah.
$5
As
a
far
The
as-
piece.
building
and make it a
isn't
revenue
historically
stream.
significant.
The main point
This,
was,
I just don't understand
I
why we're
don't-
spending
why-
money
why
on this
we-
at all.
Why are we talking about it still like
So
that?
why don't we, so somebody make a motion.
The motion has been made.
The motion has been made to do
Not
what?
recommend.
wait,
To
I'm looking,
not
Question.
recommend.
Well, excuse me,
Question.
1 second, please.
I'm looking
Let-
at Bob, because my concern was, could the Shellfish Department use this at all? Just as it is with a little fixing up?
And Bob, do you have an answer for that?
Well, Nancy Chavetta had an answer for that.
Of course she did.
And what did she say?
Of course they could use it.
I would say in lieu of not getting 3 Kendrick Ave, that this is a good alternative and it's a lot cheaper than $900,000.
Yeah.
Right, but we don't know what this estimate includes.
See, like,
I
we don't have
just told you.
to, we don't have to
Doesn't
spend it
include
right
anything
now.
else.
The 42,000 is for remediating the mold and tightening up the building structure.
Yeah, you know, the outside, the, you know,
But-
siding and
Which
stuff.
is not what the
Yeah.
article says.
And it would be used, as Nancy said in the public meeting, she said, well, we can use it to do what I just described. But we're not talking heating, we're not talking septic. And I want to remind you all of something, which is anything in that area is going to be flooded fairly often in the coming decades.
So it's not necessarily not spending, it's not voting on whether this is preserving the structure. The underlying issue is we don't know what the $42,000 is gonna entail, and nobody's ever talked to us and presented it.
Well,
And we're not even convinced that this building is
Is even
salvageable.
salvageable.
And if your observation is that, well, if Kendrick Avenue doesn't go through, then we could use this. The difference is we now own that building. So if, let's just say Kendrick Avenue does not go through,
We
then
can
they
go
can come
back
back, we can revisit it and say, okay.
Right, it
then
can be
we can
revisited
spend
at
some
a
money.
fall town meeting, or, you know, even tearing down the existing building and putting up a prefab shed on stilts or something, or, you know, at least pulling it back from the,
or another
From the
pagoda.
beach.
2 for 1
So the
pagoda.
other
A
possibility
pagoda by the bay.
was an upwelling,
Come
and we're
have
about to get a report
oysters.
from Dale Levitt and an engineer who does this stuff, his name escapes me, from Woods Hole.
that's not on the warrant.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it pertains to
We have a
the
motion on the
shellfish
floor.
Yeah,
Can
That's
we
true.
either
I'd like to
vote it or
dispense
not
with
vote it?
Seconded.
Article.
But that probably won't work.
This is
Yeah,
back
I don't
talk
know
that has
what's
nothing
gonna
to do with the motion on the floor. Could we just vote the motion on the floor?
So we have a motion to not recommend Article 36.
Second.
And it's been seconded, but I think Ira seconded, or Fred did.
I
Fred
did.
Fred did.
seconded.
And I guess the only question I have is, does it make sense on any part of this planet to say, rather than rejecting it, saying we need more information and reserving our opinion instead of?
Well, yeah, you could get up and say that during town meeting.
We can-
That's
we can-
exactly the kind of input that.
But it's unlikely we're gonna get a
Yeah.
full explanation between now and town
Right.
meeting, correct? Okay.
I
And we-
nominate
and-
Fred.
And we can,
You got it.
Let's pick articles.
and if we do get, if we
We are
do
gonna
get that
questions.
information, we can always revisit this before town
Fair
meeting.
enough. Then I'm on board.
So, all those in favor of not recommending this article, and 1 abstention, correct? Thank you. Sorry, Bob.
Well,
Oh, he doesn't have
I
to.
would have said that we should reserve for more information, because the next article, which we're gonna discuss,
Are we gonna discuss it? Because I know how I'm gonna vote.
Let's
I
move.
don't think we need to discuss this. I think we all feel the same way that we did last year.
So also,
So-
it's not really
Even
a
more so.
pressing matter to put $42,000 off till next year, should one of the other.
But the point is, we haven't,
Yeah.
we voted no.
Yes,
We
exactly.
could,
Let's
we,
go on
at
to
town
the next
meeting,
one.
we
Town
could,
meeting
we
can
could all
exactly.
stand up
Right.
and say yes.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna
correct.
make a
We-
presentation.
And we can, if we revisit this, even at the meeting we hold right before
Yes, of
town
course
meeting,
we
we
can.
can
fine. I
revise
don't know
our
if
vote.
I have to recuse myself, or,
I don't think
For the
so, 'cause
shellfish
For the
building, for that shack, I don't think so, because it's not,
No,
the first premise is, if you
Turnover.
think that the Shellfish Department needs more room to
right.
do their job, what are you gonna do? And you've got the South Wellfleet Fire Station.
Right.
You got this building here that you just voted not to put any money into, and you got 3 Kendrick Ave. You guys
Well,
do
we
the
don't have
math.
Kendrick Avenue.
Well,
No, Kendrick
I
Avenue is not.
understand, I do understand what you're saying. My concern is we don't have what this money includes.
Right, I
And that's
understand all
it,
that.
sir.
Yeah.
Your
Number
concern.
two, we don't know that this, I mean, the flooding issue is a real one. And the actual condition of the existing building is a real issue. I haven't been in it, have you?
Mhm.
What is your opinion of the condition?
It's perfectly okay to vote down an article if you
It
don't
needs
have
work.
as much
Information.
information
Right.
as you need.
And it might be
No
actually
problem.
end up that we need to vote something later that's gonna spend more money to do the job correctly. But
Right.
I don't feel like I have
Right.
the, I
Right.
don't, you know,
Okay.
so, you know what? It isn't, no, we don't want the shack. It might be, is there a better need? You know,
Is
you
there a
just
better
threw
way
out
to
a couple of
solve this
things. Is
problem?
there a better use? Is there a better way to solve the problem?
I
And can it,
understand.
so maybe,
Understood.
you know, it might be 150
Right.
down the
We're
road.
not,
Let's
we're
rip it up
not,
and put a
we're
space
not
there.
voting against the Shellfish Department having the space.
The
We're
space.
just voting
Is it the correct place and amount of money?
our
to
inability to
spend?
recommend
Is
an
it
article.
good money going after
Just
that?
think of it as
Exactly.
town's fixed inventories, not departments' buildings.
So if we
Okay.
care enough, someone will have to reach out to someone, I'm gonna guess maybe Nancy, to say, we're saying no, but we need a use case, a clearly stated use case, and we need to know where this how this $42,000 was derived.
Dan-
What
Dan may
exactly is it
already-
paying for?
Dan may already have,
And we
Okay,
voted
so-
no,
But
so the first question is to Dan.
we're not voting
What
not to
your
have
wishes
it, we
is.
just voted
Right.
not to recommend the
For now,
article in
as
terms
written,
of
yeah.
the information that we have. That's all we did.
Yep.
I'm just saying the default, if we don't ask, we're not gonna get more information
Right,
between now and
and
town
we
meeting.
need
Someone
to-
has to ask.
And Rebecca, could you please note on the minutes that this is a question for Dan?
And if you say
Thank
no,
you.
somebody's gonna look at it and go, why not, and ask.
I think
And
we have.
the-
All right,
Yes.
Almost
can
spark
we
a
move on,
discussion.
please?
Okay, yeah.
To
Three
Article
Kendrick Ave.
37.
I vote to not.
Article 37, do we have a motion? Yes.
Do I second it?
Wait, can
What
you
is the
please
motion?
state the motion?
I voted to not recommend.
You moved to not recommend Article 37, and Stephen seconded it.
Are we handing out pitchforks and torches at this
No,
point?
no,
This is an
I
easy
see.
one.
Talk
Do
about
we
it.
have
There's,
any
um,
further discussion?
Yeah,
on
there's
Article
no
There should be a lot of
explanation.
discussion.
There is no explanation to why it's necessary to buy.
Except it feels good.
Well, listen,
Doesn't
I
even
didn't
feel
say
good.
that, and I'm not dissing anyone, I'm just saying, there's no
It's not-
explanation
It's
at
just
all.
one person.
There is no, I mean, in a year when we have to spend so much money on on
Yes.
equipment and things, it just from a financial perspective
But,
does not make sense.
if you look at the article, it doesn't say what they wanna buy the article, what
Right,
they
we
wanna
still
buy it
don't
for.
know.
So that's the reason.
So there's a, it's.
We don't have a
Well, that
plan.
and
I'm not
we
gonna
don't
guess
have,
what the reason
personally, I
is.
don't
There's
think
no
it's
plan.
fiscally responsible to
I don't
buy
think it
another
is
piece of
either.
property when we have so many other
And
pressing needs.
right, and my point of view, and I will say this, is I would rather see that be an income producing piece of property
I
for the
agree.
town. And Mac Hay does a very, not that he's going to do this, but he does a very good job of presenting nice businesses to the local towns.
I
And
agree.
plus, it's an opportunity for the town to get more revenue and less things to
Cost.
maintain.
And I do recall last year, there was a certain amount of the sky is falling if it should fall into the hands of a private individual, and then Mac bought it, and everybody, what a great thing that Mac bought it. I mean, I don't know that he feels that it's a great thing, but right now,
Right.
to your point, at least it's owned by somebody who's a known
Right.
quantity.
I think it has a deeded right for a dock because the previous owners tried to put something
Right.
through
But-
Conscom to go out to the
That's-
channel, and you say it might not happen.
I
but
don't
it-
think it, I don't know if the previous owners did that or whether that's just what the deed says that can be done.
They tried to do it.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, right now.
I
It
just
is
don't
the
think
right
there's, I
one.
just,
Okay.
I agree with Stephen that it's, you know,
So we have a motion and a second to not recommend Article 37.
Okay, I think you have to give a justification, and this is the reason probably why the selectmen want to meet jointly with us on the 4th of March.
Right.
And the justification would be lack of justification. They want to put storage tanks there, which could probably go somewhere else. They want to put potentially upwellers, which probably is not a fiscally sound idea.
But
They
I
want to
see
make
nothing
an
about,
emerald necklace for the town, which below high water, you can walk anywhere you want anyway. private property and not private property.
Exactly.
And that's a high price to pay
For a tiny little piece of,
for something you're gonna have to put a lot of money into.
right.
Mhm.
There's the question about what to do with the existing building.
But you don't
Take
need
off
a
the tax rate.
justification,
Yeah.
because there's nothing
Right. So-
written here.
I spoke
any
about
of
that,
that.
I got up and spoke about this article last year.
Right.
And what I said basically was, you know, it was presented as we need this property because of the jewel, and this still sticks in my craw. It was presented as the harbor is the jewel of Wellfleet. Well, right now the harbor is choking in a bunch of mud and is disgusting.
I agree with you on
And
that.
everything is falling off, and we don't need to spend $1 million on another piece of property that's adjacent to something that's going down the, for lack of a better term, shitter.
It's becoming a
And we
non-performing
need to
asset.
take care, we need to
Right.
take care of the
Well, okay,
existing
there it is.
harbor.
We need to take care of what we already
Yeah.
own.
Before we keep
own
adding
more.
to it.
Yeah,
And-
it is fiscally
you know,
irresponsible to spend this money.
Thank you, that's a
And
good
it's, and
synopsis.
you have a great point, and Stephen has a great point, that right now, it's an income generating piece of property.
That's potential.
But,
All right, let's vote.
So, all those in favor of not recommending Article 37? All right. None opposed, so good. Article 38.
I'll move Article 38.
All right, fine.
Second.
So Article
I guess, what's
38
38?
I guess,
is
did I-
funding for the medic program.
Did Chief Pauly talk about that?
I
was
I think
not
he
think-
recommending.
think he touched on it. But I think it's let's see.
it was,
They fund a medic training program to improve recruiting and retention.
Doesn't this also give us an opportunity to have some medics come and work for us?
I don't, this is training, I think.
Right.
Yeah, but don't they get to- they pay
for
for
medics
everything.
training. I wonder, can we specify that they have to work?
But, I mean, there'd be people who already work for the fire department, or not.
No.
No?
Yeah, the thing is that this is sort of Jerry House baby, and the point was out of discussion that
Because this is.
they would pay for it,
What do you
and
know?
then there would be this
Oh,
deal that they had to work for the town for 3 years.
So is this
I don't
Jerry's
understand.
article, or is this Chief Polly's article?
Well, it's Chief Polly, you know, Jerry said, can we do something with this?
I don't understand the article, and I don't understand,
And I haven't
EMT?
seen the article.
and I don't see, I don't
It says-
Well,
understand.
it basically says, this article would fund a medic training program for the Wellfleet Fire and Rescue Department with the intent to improve recruiting and retention for the department, which
future wealthy.
is hard to not support, but
How could $10,000 be in other words, we're gonna
it's
have our
just,
own
I think it's,
school?
I think it's,
Yeah.
Our own
No,
school?
no.
regardless?
I think it's to-
You hire a
to-
facility to do it. And actually, with the way things change for medics and things, medicine and all that, training, I guess, would give the opportunity for them to be updated so that they're the latest
Okay,
and greatest.
I'm gonna say something, I'm gonna say, if you don't understand it,
I was gonna say.
let's just withhold.
Let's
our
reserve-
vote
let's
until
reserve
town
it.
Meeting, let's not make it up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Okay, so
move that.
lifeguards
I'm gonna-
can or cannot become an EMT.
Okay.
Lifeguards can be EMTs,
Right,
but I don't,
they don't have to be.
right,
But can EMTs become lifeguards?
sure.
With the
Why do we
right
care?
training, then you gotta still pass.
I know.
How do you
My
get to
question-
lifeguards?
I don't know if my son paid to become an EMT, the course.
So you want to get a refund?
I'm just saying,
Is there a second
Can
on
we,
this?
Second.
can we get back on track
but
here?
that would just be another
Second to reserve.
bunch of people that could take
Let's-
advantage of this.
Oh,
Do we have a
Get
motion
people to join the
do we have a
film
motion to
camp.
reserve recommendation?
So,
Yeah.
second, yeah.
I moved.
And a
Stephen
second.
second.
All those in favor of reserving
I think I remember talking about this.
Article
already.
38, thank
So who's
you.
the liaison to the fire department?
That's me.
Linda.
Oh, so it's
Oh,
Janet's
no.
fault we don't know.
Yeah, it's my fault, because I didn't,
Okay.
I wasn't up to speed on the article, and I will remedy that for the next meeting, and maybe we'll get it done sooner.
It's all right. This is
We don't have
fine.
any charter amendments, I mean, we might get out in a day this year.
All right.
Yeah, it's possible.
Article 39 is a transfer of land to conservation.
Which land?
When is our town meeting?
That we
I
don't
don't know.
have in front of us. It's map 46, particle
Does that
19,
have a
Hatches
financial
Creek.
impact?
Oh, it abuts Audubon?
No, that'd be Hatches, oh,
It says it abuts Audubon.
oh.
38.
Helen, do you know where this is?
Yeah,
Do we have a?
Can you elaborate?
sorry, it's over sort of by Audubon and it's wet and it's a good idea.
It's where?
It's
It's over by
wet.
Audubon, and it's a
wet.
wetland.
It's wet. and
It's wet.
a good
Probably
idea.
unbuildable?
Yeah.
We're not,
It's
this
next to
doesn't have a
something.
This doesn't have a
financial
financial
impact.
thing, right?
We don't need to.
We don't need to weigh in if
There's
we're not
another.
asked.
No, they're not
there's
even
stuff on
asking us.
Lieutenant
If they don't ask, then we're not
Skip
doing
it.
that. That's good. Why talk if you're not asked?
All right.
There are 4 little tiny
We're
things.
done.
So
We're done.
we.
Done!
Hang on
Break out the
one
vodka.
moment here. Okay, so we don't feel we need to weigh in on
Doesn't have a
39,
financial impact. on the
39, 40.
Right.
41, that was the one that we were talking about last week about
town. The parcels around
the parcel
school.
for the, regarding the housing, the stuff to the housing authority.
Yeah, but we just voted,
We,
see, that was CPC that we.
no, this is the transfer of the actual land.
And it does not have a financial impact on the town. so-
And we generally said we thought it was a cool idea.
We don't
Right,
think-
Yeah.
so we don't,
Assuming you
but
get
we
through all
don't,
the
it
zoning
does not
hurdles and
appear
all.
that we need to weigh in on it. If anybody wants to ask us at town meeting, we
Right.
can
So
discuss that.
yeah,
All right, so we don't, at this point, we don't see a need to weigh in on that.
Same thing with 42.
Yeah, oh,
That is 42.
nope, 41,
41.
42.
41, 42.
43 is,
43 is,
Not us.
right. 44, I believe.
That's just getting rid of junk.
That's it, we're
Yeah.
done with this.
All right.
Wow, this is a really
Compact.
very small one.
No, it's actually, it's,
Didn't we earn this last year?
nearly all of the articles, though, do have a financial component, so it's,
Why isn't the,
you
why?
know why it's a compact warrant? Is because there are no big zoning articles which
Because
take
it's
up a
on
lot of
both
space,
sides of
and
the
there are
page.
no, there are no bylaws.
Why isn't Article 37 a question on the annual town meeting warrant?
What do you mean?
Because if Article 37 got voted, it would need to be a question, wouldn't it, on the back of?
2.5, you mean?
Yeah,
for people? Yes, definitely.
Yeah, but it's not
a-
here, that's the only, that's the only
It's
thing.
a draft.
Okay, just
Yeah.
saying.
Which is not the final warrant. All right, I would like to just discuss, our presence has been requested at a March 4th meeting with the select board, although I'm not entirely sure the full committee needs to be, I'm not entirely sure we need a voting quorum for that.
I think it'd be nice if as many of us would show up.
I agree with you.
Okay,
I think the
great.
board, I think the board of selectmen.
I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I think the board of selectmen really
March.
are looking for advice, I hope. And in the past, we haven't really,
Well, we haven't, it's been too early in the process to do it in December, so this is a much better time
yeah.
to do it. We now have gone through all the articles.
So do we want to talk outfits? Kidding.
All right, so we
March
will,
4th at 6, right?
March 4th at 6.
Wear your Tevas.
I'm so sorry.
Everybody wear black.
Just so you know, so
Yeah.
you don't hate me. I think it's good when we all meet together around a table and do it all together and you get to be like you are here, but with 5 extra people. And this
Oh,
year,
no.
I'm so sorry.
no, no,
Actually, this
Okay.
year was the best, as long as I've been on the finance committee, this approach, even though I know I'm a speed guy, I'm like, let's go to the next one and all that, I do have to brace, say, stop, we need to dive deep. And this is the first time that's happened. What I don't think is good is for us to meet all the time. We've picked this apart, I think, as best we can. The Board of Selectmen has done their responsibility in picking it apart. Well, that's not my problem,
No,
but
it's not.
after we've gone through everything and we're comfortable with how we feel about this, meeting afterwards with the Board of Selectmen, which I think is a better way to do it as opposed to before, because we used to do the joint one before,
Yeah,
and, you know, you just get the budget thrown at you, and you
I
can't
hear
really.
you, I hear you, that's good.
No, I think I like this
That
as much
was,
as it
that's
was.
exactly
this
what I've been
was-
saying,
Yeah.
is that,
But you guys are mesmerizing. And,
and
and,
we work in a different way from the select.
yeah, but the other thing is, why have I sat here? I really don't need another meeting, but I have gotten so much from being at these 3 meetings and then the videos.
I think what the difference is, the difference is when we've done this jointly, and as one of the newer members on here is, as the department heads are presenting to the selectmen, and we are looking at this aspect in a totally different manner. We are looking at this from a financial aspect, and I think, you know, a couple of times when you get off track and we say, no, why do we need to do this? Because it's just purely a financial aspect. So our focus is a lot more sharper, and I think it's been better. As much time as I've spent here, I think this was a much better process for me understanding what the need was for each person, and that they made their case for it financially, and what the, you know, pluses and minuses were, than having somebody kind of do a dog and pony show and then go have any questions, because
I got it.
Yeah, I mean,
the presentation for the selectmen and the presentation for the finance committee aren't necessarily, it's not the same audience. So our focus is a little bit sharper, so I don't think we get the same, I have never gotten the same when we've done this together.
And you could share with the Board of Selectmen this comment. I guess overall, the recommendation is to be, you know, instead of going out and shopping for property we don't use, let's focus our funds on things that really need to get done. One priority, one main priority is dredging a
Dredging the
pond.
harbor.
Yeah, and
There's no way to
everything.
get around that.
See, what, I, by the way, have completely different take, right, on, than I did when I came in, you know, because we need to hear from you. The select board is also supposed to think about not spending money in bad ways. And yet, there's something kind of more general that can happen in select board meetings that doesn't give me the kind of detail I want. And it's particularly interesting when Dan's here, because he participates a bit more with you. Anyway, I've changed my mind. I agree with your sense of timing about it. I will champion that next year, and I'm really sorry about the 4th.
No,
You know,
don't
Well,
apologize.
it's.
No, it's,
No.
I think it's, no, it's fine.
I think we're much more, like I said, I think it's fine because we're much more prepared to go into that meeting.
Yes, no, I got it, I got it. And I hope you all talk to.
We just don't want to have to think on our feet in front of the selectmen that we haven't discussed before.
We don't have a time, when we don't have time to really go through things.
Right.
I think that now, I mean, I do apologize for the really heavy meeting schedule, and I am so, so proud of you guys for all showing up and being good with it. That I think that doing all of that homework has made the process of going through the articles and everything else and the budget much more
It's
much more thorough. I just feel like we've gotten the information we've needed for the most part. We still have a few questions on a few things, but for the most part,
Which is good.
And I
We were
think
able
we've
to front load the
integrated
information.
we've integrated the strategic planning in it too, because it gave us an opportunity to ask the department heads about
Exactly.
what do you see for the next few years too. So there was a piece of that, you know, looking at a warrant in the moment while you're looking there, you're thinking about what's on it instead of, you know, having some of those, what's coming up for you, what's happening for you. And I just didn't think in the past when I've attended the joint meetings that were open to the public that you got as much out of them.
Yeah,
There's
plus there's-
time constraints.
There's 8, you know, there's so many more
Budgets,
people that
yeah.
have questions than one department head.
Yeah.
So, the only thing I beg you, and this doesn't always happen, I think because the way we're all seated, that's my opinion, is you all get eloquent when you're meeting with us on the 4th. That, you know, you say some of the things you've said here that I've learned from. Because our select board is not probably going to go and watch all this on video. You know, I really hope you guys express yourselves about it. Bob was very good that one night he came, that you talked about way more stuff than the shellfish. You know, and you were really good on the shellfish, and you were detailed, and you had a lot to say, and I think it helped us. Okay.
thank you.
Strategic
All right,
planning.
strategic planning, Fred, What
Give me-
date are you,
give
I'm
me
gonna
one
write
minute.
this down this time, what date are you leaving?
Give me one moment here, please. I need to,
He's watching one of the past videos.
no,
This is reviewing last week's meeting.
It was funny, as I was recuperating, doing my PT at home, I just flipped through and got to channel 22 or 18, and I see, oh, there's the finance committee, oh, there's the water department.
Who are we talking about?
Yeah,
Lou?
this is,
No,
When's
but
Bob getting
I
that?
go, what are the odds that I'm
Yay.
just, doing nothing and getting caught up?
I've been on
Good,
something
because
online,
hopefully residents
and
are
I just
watching it
got
too,
it.
because
I think
it's an
they
opportunity
must.
for them when they come to
What?
town meeting,
So
they
they
say,
get-
what?
Well, basically, yeah, I'm not there.
For
but-
more.
I don't see
Well,
how
that's
it's,
effectively
it's
gavel.
on a loop,
Was
it's
it?
constantly
It's actually
being
happening
played.
live in Florida.
That's cool.
I have never once ever bumped into it by accident. And if I did, I would.
In the back of your, that's how dedicated you are, under the haze of
felt
heavy
crazy,
restrictions.
right?
You
You
said,
must have
"I
been
gotta
under a
watch
lot of
this
light."
Fred, are you,
I am so ready.
Can I call this meeting back to order, please?
I am so ready to talk
Sorry.
about strategic planning,
Fred,
if that's what you want to do.
Can you talk to me about what your actual date for leaving is again?
22nd,
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, good, so,
yeah,
Really?
good.
Really?
Where are you
Well-
going?
A little road
it's
trip.
taking, yeah, it's gonna take
Are you gonna hitchhike?
10 days or
Show.
so.
Don't tell anybody.
April 29th.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So where, what do we need to do to get the strategic plan into shape?
Well, I'm meeting with Dan tomorrow.
Okay,
I will have, it's now about 18 pages of line items, which I'm happy to read off so that you have some idea, because there's a couple I'd love to discuss. And I will have numbers for many of them, not all of them. For some of them I need to clarify. Some of them are completely speculative, and that's where I get bogged down. And then once Dan has had a chance to weigh in and say, yep, we know that number, or we don't know that number, or we at least have a ballpark idea, we can write the report. I mean, it's kind of assuming that everything that we need to have is here. There's a couple of things I'm not sure that we need line items for or not. For example, in the wastewater management stuff, there's the speculation about whether we're going to have the czar, but there's also, it's worth speculating about the stuff that was presented about sewers in the future and just saying, yeah, it's not even on the radar right now, but it's on somebody's radar that if we don't do this, but now that we've got this potential 20-year horizon with the state to get it right, I'm not really sure how to proceed with the sky is falling warning about a $60 million sewer. It doesn't seem likely
Well,
in our lifetime
The
anyway.
reality is that there's, in part of that 208 plan or whatever, there is a portion, as Kurt Felix showed us, a portion of town that's kind of pretty much gonna get a sewer system of some kind.
Right.
So to point that out is kind of like, okay, down the line, this is gonna hit the town.
Yeah, and I think it would be kind of like that. And there's a few things like that, you know, I decided to have a scenario A, B for the dredging. Scenario A being the business as usual scenario. You always name scenarios, right? So the business as usual is same assumptions as last year, delayed a year or two. The feds come in, they do their business, we get the state to pay half, the inner harbor gets done, life goes on. The other one is the other. And then there's everything in between that and other, but the worst case sort of is that we have to do it all ourselves. And we don't know what the likelihood of that is because we don't know what the feds are going to say this year or next year. So it's just speculative. I don't know how to put a number or a timeline on it except to say, you know, a neighbor was saying, you know, there was that extreme low tide. You would probably know that the other day. He was saying, you're going to walk the Great Island, you know? Well, there's no channel. I mean, at least, you know, at extreme low tide, the channel is only about, I don't know, 4 feet, 2 feet, lower than the flats.
you
Can you
could
put
canoe,
together a
but that's
timeline?
about it, get a canoe on it.
Can you put together a time? Sometimes those are helpful. You know, like a slide ruler, it's quick and simple, how many years, what the big ticket items are.
Oh, yeah, and
then
what I'm
as
going
a
to do,
follow-up,
there's ways to calculate it. Mortgage calculators basically say if you borrow this much and pay it out over 30 years, this is your annual thing. I was going to do something like that just to get a rough idea of what the annual cost would be for
Yeah,
$20 million, say.
It's a hypothetical.
You know, I don't know if towns get a better deal or a worse deal, but I'm guessing not.
Bob?
Do you factor in the removal of the railroad bed?
That was something the wastewater folks spoke to us about as something that looked like it needed to be done.
That
We have
means it
no
might be the most
idea.
cost effective, and it would give us a lot of points to avoid a sewer system, and it would help future dredging.
So here's the thing. I was over at Dan's office today to get on his calendar. It's like I said, I'm gonna talk to him tomorrow. So I asked about the dredging committee, right? You know, are they,
Meeting.
well, they're not meeting yet, but there is a dredging committee now. They've been named. And I guess Mike Flanagan's not on it, but he is an advisor too or something. So there's the committee, there's a 3-person committee, and then there's people who are going to be conduits or resources to it. But they will not have a report by town meeting, as I understand it. So they won't have recommendations or scope.
What happened to the other dredging committees who brought
So-
up this point?
Along with
This is,
That's the problem with doing this in some ways, is that there's this sort of cascading domino thing. If you don't do this, then this happens. If you do that, then that happens. And I'd be happy to speculate on what the cost of removing the railroad bridge is. I don't know how to begin. I'm not,
So Bob, which section is that?
I'm not even
the
sure
one
who to
that's
ask.
already
It
done?
would just make it wider, and I think some of it's
it's the
private.
remaining pilings and things that are
To get
floating
flow.
on
Like, you go
Blackfish
past
Creek.
Max and then go out there, right? Well, the stuff on his side is owned by the guy next to him. He owns it, he was the one who got into that spat with locals
Going out there for,
doing, you know, in the wild,
right,
and he claimed it was his,
right. He does own
up to the
up to
edge.
a point, but one, it seems like one of the more cost-effective things for the 201 or 208
plan.
committee to address. And I think it, in the long run, even after we got dredged, that this would make dredging,
so what kind of line item would you put that under? Would you put it under wastewater management? Would you put it under dredging? Would you put it
no,
under
well,
something else
it
entirely?
could dovetail with dredging, but it just seems like the more
Dredging
flow.
and
So it's
Or
all
marina, I have a marina
the
line
water
item.
coming in, so
That was
it's
gonna be the
directly
tanks
related to
primarily.
dredging. The
It
impact.
would make dredging more
Waterway
cost-effective.
restoration.
Waterway restoration. They said there's a lot of points attributed to
doing
that
those
removal,
types of
to doing
things.
that, and that seems like a pretty cheap thing to do.
They are gonna give us quite a few years to get rolling. And there's a 5-year monitoring cycle, right? So we're gonna get to try all these things, right? We already have a lot of alternative systems, and we're gonna get more, and I hope that, will you talk to Hillary, please, okay?
Well, Kurt Felix brought it up last time too, and they've been
Oh.
coaching and all that, they have taken initiatives that look like alternative sources, and according to Kurt, he said that the DEP is favorable, is looking favorably at the town, because we are making efforts and we are coming up with alternative solutions.
And we're
We've got
a
the
little ahead.
5 years,
That
the
is true.
208 plan, fortunately, they did finally submit the plan, I think, to
No,
Cape Cod
they
Commission.
have not, that's what I said earlier, excuse me for interrupting.
Okay, but anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway, that's a hard thing to assign a number to, but
yeah.
It just seems like it should be on someone's radar.
yeah, we
As
can
a-
put it in there with, you know, with the note that we have no idea how to assign a number to this at this point, but
yeah, and
that it's, you know, that it's not gonna be, that it's likely to involve borrowing.
so let me throw 3 at you that are the most, I don't know, quizzical to me. I'm not really sure how we should
most
even weigh in on
amorphous.
them. What?
The most amorphous.
They're not amorphous, though. That's the problem with them. They're just hard to get your hand around and say it's this and not that.
Go ahead, throw one out.
Okay, beach management and economic vitality.
Jealous.
And I have a little narrative, so I'm trying to get a narrative together.
Okay,
So-
parking.
In 2018, there were important questions about beach erosion, its impact on tourism, including the loss of ocean parking and the accumulation and removal of trash. A fatal shark attack at Newcomb Hollow added to the debate about what Wellfleet can do to ensure the best possible seasonal experience for tourists. The clogging of the harbor channel with black mayo and its impact on recreational boating added to those concerns. In addition, it's been well known for several years that the bay and harbor are regularly visited by sharks, many sharks, which poses a question about whether the town should post warnings similar to those on the ocean beaches. The cost of additional parking, shuttle, sanitation services, and beach monitoring are speculative but real. The financial impact of not providing those services to local businesses and employment is equally speculative. However, and this is where I would like to get a sense, because I'm putting these kinds of consulting words in,
However,
but the FinCom believes that a coherent policy that includes both cost and impact into a unified, longer-term town planning scenario is critical. Is that a fair thing to say?
It's a lot of fluff.
It is a lot of fluff. It's like,
Could you ask? is
I
the
would
parking-
need- I would
there's a real cost
Could
to
you
putting in
include
some of
that,
this stuff.
Please ask them to answer the surveys, because it's my understanding that the parking committee is putting together a survey that's going to be attached to real estate tax bills, or when you go and get a permit. How did they ever bring that to the board?
I'm sorry.
The parking task
This is
force?
town related, okay?
Oh, that's okay.
that's fine. You're
Yeah,
not-
so the parking,
The parking task force, they're coming up with a survey that they
oh,
want to
it's
send out.
good.
Okay, so
Denny-
if you could
Denny-
ask them, people to.
I didn't even know that
please
there
fill the
was
map.
a parking
Wait, and
task
there, it's on,
force.
you know, it was in the
Just so
select
much
board's
is common.
packet, so you can go and read it.
Okay,
Tell us
so
about
it-
parking.
it's,
Sorry.
And who would I
So-
contact of the parking
this
task
should
force?
it should be online, was it
Yeah.
the last meeting, the last?
Yeah,
it's
So
in
it
the
should be
packet.
online in the, with the,
You know,
select
18.
board's meeting information for the last.
Okay, so to your point, this is fluffy with a real core kernel of
Right.
cost. Adding parking spaces, putting signs up,
It's a
doing
big punch with
monitoring.
a large-
I mean, we're talking about-
Fred, I can help you with the language, but I have to sit down and with.
I like the language.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
it's good.
affordable housing and other building initiatives. Many of the costs are basically CPC budget, right? And often considered as standalone items. But again, from the FinCom perspective, every purchase ought to be linked to a broader question about the future economic vitality of the town, need to provide housing for families, town professionals, a hedge against the migration of young people away from the Cape, and so on. So again, I'm kind of saying, absent comprehensive town planning, and we've talked about whether this town's ever gonna have a town planner or not, would you,
This town has a comprehensive plan in place.
yeah, which is in the process of
And-
being
And
updated.
the actual development of housing is
in that plan.
mostly, I mean, a developer is brought in who shoulders the costs of this.
Oh, no, that part I understand, but again, we're always talking about use cases here, right? What's the purpose of Kendrick Avenue? What's the purpose? If you're going to build 40 units of affordable housing, you must have some notion that you're going to fill it up with people who want it, that they're not going to be empty units.
Not
Right.
necessarily, some of those lottos early on, people didn't qualify, so.
Yeah, I know, I'm just saying, it's
This
just,
is,
I mean,
yeah, this is a different
in a planning
situation.
function, you do some
These are-
kind of
these are
demographic
rentals.
surveys or
Yeah.
something to
Right.
say, if we build it, they will come, but we don't know that that's happening. Anyway, and then the last one was the recreation department. The only thing we really have is that fixed structure, the pagoda. But I think there are broader questions, again.
Can we say how much it's available for rent? In the
I
plan?
think we should.
We should advertise it. sell it
How
to
is
them.
that gonna, yeah, okay.
But there have been other conversations that we have been privy to about the management of different properties like Mayo Beach and the harbor, the Wellfleet Elementary School, the emergence of a cultural district that all kind of fall under the umbrella of the recreation department in terms of creating and providing services to people year-round and tourists that are going to cost money at some point. They need to be
So I
managed.
wouldn't say recreation committee,
yeah.
I would say human services.
Human services, so it falls-
Because human
yeah.
services can get broader and broader.
Okay.
Right, and I think the rec director currently has a full plate as far as what
Yeah,
she
so-
can
so to
handle.
me, it looks
She's a
like-
part of it, obviously.
Right.
It looks to
That's
me
what-
like there's going to be additional needs at some point, but we don't know what they are. That's why I'm saying these are fluffy. These are the
Yeah.
fluffy ones.
I can help shave some of the fluff off.
That's what it
We
was.
want, just working with the language with you. That's-
I get they're speculative.
Right, no, of course.
Kathy brought up a good point.
Yeah.
That article about the van accepting the gift.
Yeah.
Where is that
It's
in
not
the
in
law?
there. I just thought of that, I didn't see it.
It
Did that
is,
not go
it's
through?
apparently not in the draft, so
So that means it
that,
went away?
well, no, it means it's not, it means that it's not yet
It
something that
hasn't
we
been
have to.
approved that we've accepted the gift.
Right.
Is that an assumption
Well,
that
I
it can be
mean,
made that
It
it's
has
not
to
in
come
draft?
before town meeting for the town to accept the
if,
gift.
when
My
the article
understanding-
becomes available.
Right,
we
okay, so we
can-
do have to weigh in on that, right?
My
I would
understanding
think
was
so,
the
yes.
gift had to be accepted by the selectmen prior to, was
I
that my
believe that-
understanding?
Well.
It
yeah, I
has to be
think so.
accepted at town meeting, by town meeting, but we don't have an article for it.
It was a
Is it
glaring
a petitioned
omission.
article?
Well, the issue is, in order for the article to get on the warrant, the select board has to put it on the warrant,
Okay.
as Woody knows, as Ira knows.
So, the
I
fact
don't
is,
see
it's
it on
not
there.
yet,
Well, it could be a petitioned article, anybody can petition
Oh,
an article.
yeah, I don't think they're gonna do that, but
Okay.
you're right.
Before we completely get off strategic
I'm sorry,
planning.
I'm sorry.
Just-
I
In,
just-
just in,
That's a good point, 'cause that
in
was-
terms of process, I would like to commit to having, for everybody, a draft report within 2 weeks. I don't know that we're gonna have a meeting immediately after
That
that, but I'm
was
happy to
the next
distribute,
thing I
I'm
wanted
happy
to
to
discuss.
distribute it via email, give everybody a chance to react, amend it, say no, yes, what about this? And then take about a week, hopefully to get something close to a final.
'Cause it's just
Before I
ready
hit-
for town meeting, right?
Well, but I, but also,
but it has to be finished by, yeah, I know.
by mid to late March would be my goal.
We have to get this, we basically have to get this done by the 22nd.
When is town meeting again?
April
22nd.
22nd.
I
Oh,
just,
is it
I
on
asked
it?
you earlier,
It's on
and
the-
I said, oh, the 22nd.
Oh, it's on
The
the.
day after Easter Sunday.
So I'll do that. I'll commit to getting a draft out within a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
and then we'll all react.
Okay,
Try to
so
ignorant slut.
I would like to discuss what we want to do as far as a next meeting. We are gonna meet on the 4th with select board. Anything that's going in the warrant has to be in Dan's hands by the 8th. So
We're done.
I think that we're okay at this point. There are a limited number of things we have to contend with between now and town meeting. But we don't have to get them in, we don't have to make those recommendations in time for print, since we don't have them at the
When are
moment.
we going
so
to
we
print?
We gotta get it in by March 8th.
March 8th.
It's a deadline.
So the only question is, do we want to schedule a meeting for the 6th in case we need it, in case we want to get
March
anything
6th.
else on, that's next week, in case we want to get anything, and it means meeting on Monday with the select board and Wednesday ourselves. Do we want to do that, or do we want to just accept that we have done what we can for the print warrant and anything else we can
just-
deal with? And
Yeah, we could decide this on the March 4th meeting, because it is gonna be actually a joint official meeting for the,
we have to
Finance
post it though prior to.
is it too late to post?
It could be
We
just,
can't post it on Monday night, we have to post it Friday.
Friday.
Can we post a tentative meeting?
We can,
Why don't
we
you
can
post
post,
your March 4th
we
meeting?
can post a
and then
March
you
4th
Yeah, then we
meeting,
can discuss
and
it.
then we can
Discuss it
decide
there.
to cancel
We can
it.
go like this to the Board of Selectmen.
No, you can have a separate meeting, it always happens.
Yeah, so
No, I know, you're right.
So-
And then we
Post
can
your March
decide
4th
then.
meeting.
let's
And
put
then
the
have
4th on our calendars,
John,
I mean the 6th rather, on our calendars, and if we don't need that meeting, we can cancel it. But
it's snowing.
we're better, we can't decide at the last minute to have a meeting.
Right, sorry. Yeah,
But you're
that
posting the
posting
March
thing.
4th meeting.
Sorry, the March 4th and the March
March
6th.
6th, just in case.
Just
So
in
if
case.
March 4th, okay.
So if March 4th
It's
is
easier to
done-
cancel
If
than.
March
Yeah,
4th goes
exactly.
well and we have all the information, we can do a quick,
We can do a quick
quick
revisiting
one
of
after.
the articles that
yeah,
we
depending
haven't,
on
but
timing.
that's,
Then we have a break.
then we can
I'm
have,
just
then we
saying.
can have a break until the end of March for our regular meeting.
Right.
What are we gonna do at that meeting?
What? Oh, never mind,
We
I'm
can,
gonna ask.
anything that, well, first of all, we could have Hillary come in and talk to us. And we
Oh,
could
that's a
have,
good point.
and we could also, we don't have to wait until the 6 o'clock before town meeting to actually get,
Have a meeting to have a meeting.
yeah, we can vote on things and submit our recommendations to,
Right.
to the select board and to Dan. And they can, they'll go to Danny and be posted at town meeting, so. We can certainly act on things, we just,
We won't have any transfers.
It won't. It won't show up in print. Okay?
Plausible deniability.
March,
Yeah.
March 4th, March
All right.
6th.
We're done with
March
strategic planning.
4th, March 6th, and March,
So March 4th and March 6th, and then our regular meeting would be, let's see, 27th.
21.
All right, fourth Wednesday, right?
I don't have my Palm Pilot.
Your Palm Pilot?
Wow.
You have a Palm Pilot? I have one in a box somewhere.
I had one of those. I played Monopoly on it. I played Scrabble on it.
All right, so,
Liaison reports?
yeah, does anybody have anything? Liaison? And there's no correspondence, right, Rebecca?
No.
So
Miss
nice
that
to see
beacon.
you back, by the way, thank you.
Yes.
I missed the
welcome back.
beacon.
And is there any other business, or have we dispensed with that?
I think so, right?
All right,
Wowie, wow.
do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in
Second.
favor? And we're out.